In this episode, a kind of old dude yells at clouds, eats a burrito, and flies a 4.5 hour flight while listening to nice music in completely uneventful conditions.
I'm Matt, a commercial film director and private pilot. My job making car commercials and running a business takes me all over the world, and sometimes I get to fly myself. All right, packing up here, getting ready to head out. Got some stuff for the wife, my clothes. Drone bag, drone, red bag, clothes, laptop, batteries, iPads, laptops, clothes, drones. It's been a long shoot and I got 15 minutes to finish packing, and it doesn't look like it's going to be an amazing day of flying. Unfortunately, the weather looks, a cold front came through, or is coming through. Upper Midwest, and it does not look ideal at all.
All right, so first things first, for me, planning for a return VFR flight starts by looking at the weather a week out. And that means basically the day I land, I'm already looking at like a 10-day forecast, commercial forecast, just trying to get an idea of what the weather at my departure and my destination might look like a week in advance. Obviously, a week in advance, it's gonna be kind of fuzzy. 3 days out, 2 days out, and then the day before, you know, we're finishing up the shoot, we're packing all the gear, I'm taking a look at the weather, and now I have the benefit of being within a 24-hour window, and I can really make a pretty solid decision based on the weather. And the biggest concern is this cold front that's cutting across the upper Midwest and bringing with it a bunch of marginal VFR, low-ish VFR conditions, and then south of me, a lot of IFR conditions. Lucky for me, it's not really bringing any convection. It's late autumn at this point. But in this scenario, it looks like I could both go underneath or maybe even get up on top and fly the entire trip home. And I was kind of debating both of those prior to taking off. Back at the field, it's time to load up. Got all my gear. Got this cold brew and this fruit cup I got to finish up. So I'm at Bay Bridge Airport. I loaded the plane all up, filled it up, 52 gallons of fuel. I go to close the canopy and it won't shut. It's actually jammed in the locked position. And that's because I locked it prior to getting out because I guess I didn't want anyone to steal stuff or something. And now it won't unlock and I can't actually latch the canopy. So now I've got a little bit of this stress from the plane being broken. I know this bad weather is coming at me. I have a lot of decisions to make and I'm trying to avoid getting, get there-itis, which is where you've got so much outside pressure that you start making poor decisions. So I kind of pull off the ramp a little bit. I'm idling, I'm annoyed, it's hot, power down the plane, get out my fuel tester, which has a Phillips bid on it, and get it closed, which is nice because I thought I was gonna have to do the whole flight with the canopy open, which you can do in the Tiger, but it wouldn't be pleasant for that long.
Your instruments look good. Waypoints are plugged in. Fuel is good. We'll be contacting Potomac approach immediately after departure. Scratch pad is set. Taking off at 11:28. Bay Bridge, traffic commentator 74609, departing runway 29, Bay Bridge.
Bay Bridge, Alonso Hotel, Victoria, left downwind, runway 29,
Bay Bridge, traffic commentator 74619, just off 29, exiting the pattern to the northwest.
Airlines 2255, contact Baltimore Tower now, 119.4, good day. 472, advise Baltimore, correction, advise Martin, inside 11 o'clock, 2 miles.
Potomac approach, Grumman Tiger 74619, are just off Bay Bridge with request.
Southwest 4999, Potomac approach, Baltimore altimeter 299.5 after Raven direct, flat. And I was at Grumman 74619 calling.
Affirmative, Grumman Tiger 74619, just off Bay Bridge, requesting a VFR flight following into Uniform, November, Victor, University, Pennsylvania.
Grumman 619, what's your requested altitude and route?
3,000 for 619er.
November 619, roger, stand by first squawk.
So I've got my flight plan taking me roughly to University Park, Pennsylvania, and that's where I requested VFR flight following to. And that's because that's where the weather started to look poor. And I was hoping that I could get there prior to really getting into any marginal conditions. I could land there, reassess the weather, see how I feel, and I know that I always had an out going back east because where I was coming from was great VFR conditions, so I always had this out. And so I kind of set that as my point of return, I guess.
Annapolis 1029, turn right, heading 300, join the final approach course. Annapolis 2241, climb maintain 14,000. Annapolis 1029, advise Baltimore 2 to 3 o'clock and 1 2 miles. November 619, squawk 2130.
2130, 619.
Annapolis 4999, descend and maintain 4000. November 619, radar contact 18 miles to the southeast of Baltimore. Maintain VFR, proceed on course, remain outside the Bravo.
Alright, so I'm cruising just below 2,000, climbing just a little bit. I'm going to go up to 2,000, give me a 500-foot buffer to the
Annapolis
Bravo.
1632, flighting 200, descend and maintain 3000.
On flight following, but I made sure that I'm clear to cross through Martin State because I will be going directly through their airspace, the Delta airspace, which is below the Bravo. Go pump off.
Public approach, Skylane 7366.
Make sure set.
Cancel flight following.
A quick update here. I added a waypoint in Lego just northwest of Harrisburg. Looking at the clouds, it's going to get me through this ridge area and over top Harrisburg. And it gets me around kind of like these highest peaks that are over here to my left. I see the cloud band just being pushed up over the ridges. I guess that's the part I'm the most uncomfortable with. This is basically have to cross this ridge line. Effectively, in marginal conditions, we're still crossing it with some altitude. It's not like we're doing any crazy valley stuff. But for me, I'd like to put as much between me and them as possible. But we have this little slot that we can go through. Clouds, slot, mountains, something like that. I'm gonna cut the GoPros for a bit, and I'll come back when it gets more interesting.
All right, so this is about the part where I decided the weather was getting too much for me. The clouds were getting lower than I wanted. It was starting to get very scattered in layers. I could see that some of the mountain peaks up ahead were actually into the clouds, and so I bailed out. I turned around, went northeast to Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and took their crew car to Moe's Southwest Grill.
Tiger 619er, turn left taxiway Delta and contact ground point 8.
Turn left Delta over to ground on point 8.
Grumman Tiger 74619er, Lancaster ground, say destination.
619 is going to whatever FBO I can pick up some fuel.
Tiger 619er, just confirming the FBO.
Affirm 619 FBO, please.
Tiger 619er, roger, taxi to FBO via Alpha.
FBO via Alpha for 619er.
Tango Pop 7 is cleared, 3-1.
Here's Lancaster, Pennsylvania.
Well, I took the crew car to get Moe's Southwest Grill. Because I like when they say, welcome to Moe's when you walk in. There's a crew car. It's got a beacon on the top. So landed here in Lancaster and we're gonna hang out for a while. So the bummer about Moe's during COVID is the entire reason you go there instead of Chipotle or something
is its spicy attitude.
Is they have a hot sauce bar and unlimited chips and salsa, but the sauce bar is closed because of COVID, and I don't want to go back inside to get my free chips. But what it did do is give me a chance to kind of suss out the weather a little bit on the ground. So I'm not feeling stressed about flying into some IMC or into the side of a mountain. I can take a deep look at what the weather looks like, give the weather time to improve because the front is moving eastbound on top of me. So as long as you have an out, I feel totally comfortable cruising along at 2,500 feet, and that's what I intended to do. Also keeping in the back of my mind that there may be an opportunity now that the skies were getting broken to find a hole to get up on top and do the entire trip VFR over the top. And I know what you're saying. You're saying you can't do a 500-mile cross-country VFR on top, but you kind of can, and it's totally legal in the U.S.A., but it's obviously something that should be done with, in my opinion, extreme caution. Also keep in mind, I'm kind of just a dude, not a pro, so maybe ignore all this. It'd be really easy to get stuck on top and then be either forced to make an instrument approach and you're unprepared to do so because you're a VFR pilot, or run out of fuel or something. So you really want to be prepared. I had looked at the weather aggressively and I knew to my east was completely VFR. It was broken to straight clear if I went all the way back. To my north was pretty decent VFR. To my south was the marginal VFR. To my west was marginal VFR. And then all the way my destination back in Michigan was VFR broken and forecast to be VFR clear by the time I got there. So I knew that I had some pretty good options. I had aircraft endurance. I had full tanks because I just landed and refueled. I knew that I could pull the mixture back, pull the throttle back, and stay in the air for a really long time, you know, leaving me a couple hours of reserve to where the forecast weather was improving easily. Or I could go eastbound, you know, 6-7 hours eastbound with a tailwind at this point, back to VFR conditions if I had to. Obviously, that wouldn't be ideal, but that's an option. I also have really good weather in the cockpit with ADS-B into my iPad and my Garmin 530. So like I always do, I can continually check the weather at my destination and all sorts of points along the way and verify that yes, the weather is improving as it was indicated to do so or forecast to do so. And yes, those options that I have open to me are staying options. They're broken or scattered or clear, and they're continuing to be that way. It looks like the forecast is happening like it was predicted to do so. So I climb up to 12,000 feet, give or take, over the top of the first mountain of clouds, and then basically for the next 300 miles, I just flew and flew and flew.
Took off, saw a hole, climbed right through the hole. Weather ahead, 4 hours ahead, is broken. Forecast to be scattered by the time we get there, so decided to proceed for a little bit, see how it looked. Amended my plan to go to Toledo Executive to pick up fuel, which is currently showing a METAR of 3,000 broken forecast in the next couple hours to be broken or scattered.
All right, so there's a reason that VFR over the top isn't permitted in most other countries. It's because it can be pretty easy to get up there and pretty hard to get down. If you had an engine failure or something, you're gonna have to go through that overcast as a VFR pilot. Trying to maintain orientation via instruments only could be pretty tricky. You're gonna run a risk of flipping over and dying, which would be less than ideal. Also, simpler things like you're up top, the clouds are a little higher than you expected initially, or you cruise 100 miles down the road and the clouds keep climbing and climbing and climbing. You might not have oxygen on board, you might not have a turbo, and now you can't get up over the top anymore and you're walled in. Maybe you can turn around, maybe you can't. Maybe the hole below you is there, maybe it's gone. Now you're stuck up there and your only option is basically an emergency.
All right, quick check-in. Been about an hour and a half since I last turned on the GoPros, and yeah, I am still overcast. Now it's 100% overcast. I have 0 ground contact, and I have it for about 45 minutes, which is not my favorite thing. And I'm getting a traffic call, plus 1,500 right off the nose, who I have on site. Right there, 1,500 feet. A nice booty. So far it's been pretty decent flying other than the headwind. I'm only cruising about 105, 110 knots across the ground, burning 9.8 gallons an hour with 120 knot indicated airspeed. Trying to get the most efficiency versus the most speed, just in case there's more overcast than I'm planning for. The GPS, the Garmin, saying that I could theoretically get all the way to 8 Delta 4, all the way home, with 5.1 gallons less left, which would be exactly roughly a 30-minute reserve, but tempting as it may be, I feel like that's a little unsafe.
November 74619, radar contact about 50 miles northeast of Indiana County.
So in 49 minutes on 4 flight to Toledo Executive, so we should have plenty of fuel, a full hour and a half of reserve. So far, it's been a pretty boring flight. There's nothing to look at, just tops of clouds. Very few traffic, it's only been 1 aircraft, 2 aircraft. Head back out, we're still over the overcast. We've been overcast for 3 hours, 3.5 hours now. Almost 4 hours. Have not seen a single piece of ground for quite a while. All right, this is cool. I am now coming over the edge of the overcast. I've been over overcast for forever, literally for 4 hours. I've been hoping that at some point it would go away so I could descend, which I know there's probably gonna be people that are saying, hey, that's a dumb decision to make. But I was pretty confident that everything west of basically Toledo was gonna be scattered and broken. So I understand if anybody has any criticism on making an over-the-top long haul across country like that, but it's legal to do it. I feel comfortable knowing that there's plenty of options to the west, and that I have 5 hours of fuel on board. And I'm really stoked right now to see a big opening and know for a fact that yes, I will be able to get through this overcast. It is a pleasure to see overcast over here, completely overcast, and right there, the edge of that layer all the way down to the ground. Cool, let's go get some fuel. Grumman Tiger 74619, I'll cancel flight following now.
74619 or 74619, roger, radar service is terminated, squawk VFR, frequency change approved.
619, call Squawk VFR, thanks a lot. Toledo Executive, Grumman Tiger 74619, 10 to the east, inbound, left traffic. So Executive, Grumman 619 on left downwind, 22, Toledo Exec.
9, Oakland side.
Toledo Executive, Grumman 619, turn left base, 22, Toledo Exec. Nice. Let's find the fuel. Ever been to Toledo Executive? Always fun to visit a new place. It says it has fuel. We're at 20 knots right now. Better slow it up. Okay, Toledo Executive, powering down the cameras. Gotta get fuel. Gotta get out of here as soon as I can.
All right. Well, the fuel pump was didn't work. It just automatically declined my card before it even dialed or anything. Just every single one of my cards would just say declined, and then I noticed that it said offline, which it's not going to approve anything if it's offline, which was kind of a bummer. And I called the dude, and there's nobody here. Some guys came and helped me. This is all off camera, of course. I paid them cash, and they had fuel in a weird little cart. And then the pump started working miraculously. So anyway, filled to the taps. Time to rip.
Oil pressure good, oil temps good. That's to 1800 RPM, right, left. Both. 1000, fuel pump on. Taking off, basically full throttle. Not quite firewall because I'll go over the red line, but there's as much power as we can put through it. Burning 13 gallons an hour, doing 130 knots across the ground, which is kind of weak and disappointing. I got my coffee open. It's not nitro cold brew in a can, which isn't amazing, but I did just get switched to Great Lakes Approach, which means I am now Michigan, and above anything else, I am a Great Lakes enthusiast, a Michigan enthusiast, so I'm pretty stoked. I will be in Sparta in 24 minutes, according to the Garmin. Sparta traffic up at 619, turn left base 25, Sparta. Sparta traffic Tiger 619, turning final 25, Sparta.